Hey drummers, it's me Rob Litton here from drumstheword.com. Hope you're all doing well. Continuing with my promise to do more free lessons during this COVID lockdown. Today I've got a full video song lesson for you today. As recommended many times over on my Facebook page, and certainly I've been meaning to do this for a while now. The classic Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. And there are two drummers listed in Wikipedia as to who played the drums on this. Paul Humphreys or Uriel Jones. I don't know which guy did it. If you do, then please type it on the comments below if you're on YouTube. Let me know, because it'd be interesting to find out who the actual drummer was on this. I couldn't find it out. But I've got the free PDF for you, all 3 pages, every single bar and fill. You can download all 3 pages of this song from my website. You'll find a link beneath this video to this PDF. So let's get started. It's really, the basic groove is very simple. We've got basically this drum beat going through the song. So the basic stuff is very basic, and so you might think this is probably a beginner intermediate lesson, but it's all those really cool drum fills and techniques and open hi-hat stuff and single-handed 16ths on the hi-hat stuff, as we'll see later on, that pushes this to an advanced level. If you want to have a go at this song, then just take out all the complicated bits, do your own drum fills. You've got the basic drum beat down, and you can get through the song by doing that. But I'm going to show you what's actually being played by the drummer. But what I'm saying is basically, if you want to have a go at playing this, if you're a new drummer, then you can take out all the complicated bits and play something else instead. There's no reason why you couldn't play along to this song. Because 90% of it is relatively simple. So anyway, saying that, let's go on what we're actually playing here, or actually hearing. So the first bar, we got our introduction to our drum groove, and the drummer comes down on the crash cymbal, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. It almost sounds like a ride cymbal at the beginning. It's a really light, even lighter than that. It's more. But I'm going to use the crash cymbal. It doesn't matter if you use the ride or the crash. But notice he doesn't come straight back to the hi-hat for the and the beat 1. He leaves this gap. 1, 2, and 3. And the snare drum's on backbeats on beat 2 and 4. The bass drum is playing 2 and 3 and 4. And he plays and 4. The 4 as well on the bass drum. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. If you take a look at the second bar, we got the full drum beat now. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. But except at the end of the second bar, he opens the hi-hat on the and the beat 4. Now, just before I move on to that, sometimes later in the song, he's not playing the bass drum on beat 4 every time. Sometimes he just plays 1, 2, and 3 and 4, as we'll see. So he does vary up a little bit and improvise a little bit with that. So at the end of the second bar, we got the open hi-hats. 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and 1. Then we just got 2 more bars of that. 1, 2, and 3 and 4, and then 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and 1. So the open hi-hat at the end of bars 2 and 4. Then we go on to the next line, and I'm sure the drummer plays a lot more ghost notes and drags than I've written here, because I'm sure there's a lot that snuck in the background which I couldn't hear, but the really obvious ones I included, and this is the first obvious ghost note I hear popping out. At the end of the bar, 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and a 1. Just simply a drag, a ghost note drag, a 1 into beat 1 of the next bar. 4, 4 and a 1. 4 and a 1. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. So you could just play a single ghost note if you wanted to. 1, 2, and 3 and 4, a 1. These ghost notes aren't important. You can play around with them. They're sort of icing on the cake. But notice how he sort of repeats the same bar 3 times here. The first 3 bars are identical. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Again, 1, 2, and 3 and 4, 1. And then we get to the second line and our first really cool drum fill. So the bar starts 1, 2, and, but then from beat 3 we get this linear drum fill. Starting on the hi-hat, 3, E, and I'm going to use, I've written it as the high tom, but I'm going to use the medium tom instead. It doesn't matter what tom you use. I use the one in front of me, it's just easier. 3 E and 4 E and. Simple as that to start off with. 3 E and 4 E and And by the way, there could be bass drums being played with those two tom notes. I think he might be playing, or sometimes I think he's playing 1 E and 2 E and, because those toms sound a lot deeper on the mix. I haven't included those bass drums because they're not important and makes the drum feel a little trickier, but be aware that there might be some bass drums being played with those tom notes at the same time. But the really tricky part is the end of it. And I've notated it as a grouping of 3 30-second note triplets. And the sticking I've given is just a guess of how the drummer played it. This is how I would play it. Right, right, left. And these are played really fast. You might be mistaken if you thought it was just 2 notes being played as a drag at the end, but it's not. It's actually 3 notes. So the sticking I use, right, right, left, and that triplet fits in the space of 1/16th note. 4 E and 1. 4 E and starts there. So let me just play the bar around a few times slowly. 1 and 2 and the E and 4 E and 1. 1. 1. I accidentally played a little double-handed left there. It's literally that fast. It has to be really fast. You see how fast that is? So you'll be forgiven if you find that really difficult. I certainly did to play it up to speed, even though it's not a very fast song. So you could just play a single drag at the end if you wanted to, but if you want to learn how to actually play what's on the recording, that's what he's doing. I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure about the sticking, but that's what he's playing. So a few times, 1 and 2 and the E and the 4 E and the 1. And I'll play this up to speed for you in a moment. Probably a little bit sloppy, but we'll see. So let's go into chorus 1 for now. And it's back to our basic drum beats. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. That gets played 4 more times. Notice the drag at the end of bar 2. Little drag at the end of bar 2 that I heard. Then the second line of chorus 1, we've got 2 more bars of the groove. Notice the second bar though, there's a very quiet little ghost note on the E of beat 3. 1, 2 and the E and 4 and 1. 3 E and 4. The bass drum staying the same. We just get this extra little ghost note falling before the bass drum on the and of 3. 3 E and 4 and 1. Then we get the open hi-hat at the end, as you saw there. Bar 3 has the drag at the end, and notice for the first time on the recording so far, I can sort of hear it. It's quite clear that there's no bass drum being played on beat 4 for that one bar. So he just plays 1, 2 and 3 and 4. If you played and 4 again, it wouldn't matter. That's what you hear on the recording. Then he ends the bar with a drag, 1, straight into the last bar there of chorus 1, and we've got another great drum fill. So after that drag, 1, we go straight into another ghost note, 1 E and 1 E and 2. I think I'm hearing a bass drum push on the of beat 1 there. 1 E and 2 and then from the and of beat 2 and 3 down to the snare drum and 3 E up to the hi-hat with your hi-hat will be over here. You'll be playing with your left hand though. We get 3 E and those hi-hats are just open for 1/16th note each. 3 E and 1. Well, beat 4 actually. 3 E and then 4 E and he plays a floor bass drum with that tom. Again, I've written it as the high tom, but I'll use the medium tom, it doesn't matter. 4 E and. So let's create a useful little 2-bar loop. Let's play those 2 bars together because there's a lot of stuff in that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and I missed the bass drum at the end accidentally. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 E 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1. So now let's hear the whole of verse 1, the whole of chorus 1 up to speed so we can hear how we go from section to section without the microphone on so you can hear just the drums. Here we go. So on to verse 2, and the drummer seems to settle into a 2-bar drum beat, where the first of the 2 bars, he doesn't play the bass drum on beat 4, but then in the second bar of the 2-bar pattern, he does play the bass drum on beat 4. So you get this 2-bar pattern, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and he repeats that idea later. So notice at the end of bar 2 is an open hi-hat, the end of bar 4 as well, so those 2 bars, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and again for the next 2 bars. Line 2, 2 bars at the beginning, 2-bar pattern, no open hi-hat at the end of bar 2. And then bar 4, we get this new drum, another drum fill. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and a 1. The simplest drum fill in the song. 4 E and a 1. Simple as that. So 1, 2 and 3 and 4 E and a 1. And I don't think it goes to a crash. I think it goes straight back to the hi-hat for line 3. Very subtle. Then we get 2 bars of the and 4 version. Bar 3 doesn't have the bass drum on bar 4. Bar 4 does though, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. The last line, bar 1, doesn't have the bass drum on bar 4. Same with bar 3. Bar 3 ends with the drag, a 1. And then we've got another drum fill here at the end of the line. And this is probably the hardest drum fill to play. I don't know why, I think the bass drum underneath it made it a bit tricky. So we get 1 and 2 and a 3 E and. So I've written it left, right, left. Again, I'm going up to this high, this tom here, because on a normal kit, that would be a high tom, that would be your medium tom, so it is still a high tom, but again, it doesn't matter what tom you use. 3 E and, the bass drum then comes in on the and in the gap, but it's then going to play and 4 and. So it might seem like a bit complicated, but really the bass drum's just going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But over the top of that, we get a 3 E and a 4, and I've written right left for the 4, 4. Then you come down to the snare drum to play that 32nd note triplet again. Remember, it only takes up the space of 1/16, so it's really fast. So we get right, right, left into and at the end. E and E and. So it's very hard to play this up to speed. So let me play it slowly a couple of times. So we do a 2-bar loop. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. I'm going to keep all these mistakes in, by the way. I did find this really tricky. I don't know how the drummer plays these so fast and cleanly. 1 and 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty good, but that still doesn't sound exactly the same. It's very hard for me to replicate the way he accents or not accents those notes. But that's the stick. Well, that is the grouping of notes he's using. It's just very hard to replicate the exact feel and touch that he has because he's obviously a very talented drummer. So there's 2 bars again, and then we'll move on. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. And I'll play up to speed for you in a moment. It's gone to page 2 for now. Bridge 1, so our first bridge. And the drum beat changes for this section. So we've got this first bar. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1. Snare drum on the E of 3. 3 E and 4 and 1. Then the second bar we get this cool little bass drum part. 1, a 2, I'm hearing a bass drum on the of 1, 1 and a 2, a 3 E and a 4 and 1, a 3 E, a 3 E and a 4 and 1, a 3 E, a 3 E and a 4 and 1. So let's create a 2-bar loop there. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1, a 2, a 3 E and a 4 and 1. Even slower. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1, a 2, a 3 E and a 4 and 1. Then bar 3, 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Same for bar 4, but it ends with and a 1. So actually that's the simplest drum fill in the song. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1. Again, he doesn't go to the crash. I hear him just go back to the hi-hat and a 1. And then bars 1 and 2 are identical to the line above it, except it doesn't start with a crash cymbal. 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2, a 3 and a 4 and 1. Notice there's no and 1 going into the second bar as well. There's no bass drum on the and a 4 there, so slightly different, but yeah, basically the same idea. Bar 3, standard stuff. Bar 4 though, 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4, and coming on the E of beat 3 there, 3 E and a 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4 and 1. Open hi-hat with the bass drum there. Line 3, bars 1 and 2 are pretty much identical to the line above it, except there is a bass drum on the and a beat 4 this time again. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1 and 2, a 3 E and a 4 and 1. So open hi-hat at the end of bar 1 and bar 2 there. Bar 3, standard stuff. Bar 4, 1, a 2 and open on the and a 2 there. 1, a 2 and closes with the snare drum. We play 3 E and a 4 E and a. The bass drum plays 4 and underneath, but you could leave out those bass drums. 1, a 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Simple as that. Line 4, we get 1, 2 and 3, a 4. So a little bit different there. Look out for that. 1 and 2 and 3. Closes on its own on beat 3. 3 and a 4. And a little bass drum pushing into beat 4. 3 and a 4. 1, 2 and 3, a 4 and. Bar 2 and 3 sort of go into this Motown fill where we get bar 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and sort of building up to bar 3. So bass drums on all 4 beats there. Excuse me. And then bar 3, snare drum on all 4 beats. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 1 and 2, bass snare and 1. Then the last bar starts with a crash. 1, 2. And we come on beat 2 there with the snare drum, but those 2 little notes there represent the drag, the left-hand drag. So it's the drag happens just before beat 2. That first snare drum note on beat 2 happens on beat 2. So we get 2 E and a 2, little left-hand drag. 2 E and a 3 E and then and a 4 E and. All on the same tom. So 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. 1. So 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1. So best thing I think to do is to play up to speed for you. Let's go back to page 1. I'm going to play from the last line of verse 2 because we've got that really cool drum fill at the end. I'm probably going to mess that up as well. Then we're going to play the whole of bridge 1 into the first part of chorus 2 so we can hear what that sounds like up to speed as well. So we're on to chorus 2, and I've called this bit part 1 because part 2 he moves to the ride cymbal. So part 1 we're on the hi-hat, and it's a very basic groove for the first line. I won't bother waste your time, you can work that out, we've gone over those variations. Next line, notice the little drag at the end of the first bar. 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 1. Open hi-hat at the end of bar 2. And then bar 4, another drum fill, bit simpler this time. 1, a 2 and then and a 3 E and. This is where I do recommend you go the actual high tom because you're going to go down to the medium tom afterwards. 1, a 2 and a 3 E and. So we get and a 3 E and a 4 E and the bass drum comes down with the snare drum at the end on the and a 4. So and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1. Kind of a weird drum fill that. I seem to remember this one was quite hard to hear in the mix. So 1, a 2, a 3 E and a 4 E and I almost clipped my thumb there. That could have been painful because of my weird setup. 1, a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. There we go. So 1, a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1. Let's create a 2-bar loop. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, a 2, a 3 and a 4 E and 1. Good fun to play that drum fill though. Then we go into chorus 2, part 2, like I said, is on the ride cymbal, but it's our basic groove still. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. For the first 3 bars, bar 4, 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 and. So a snare drum on the E of 3, 3 E and 4, and a bass drum on the and a beat 4, and a bass drum on beat 1 on the next bar. So we get and 4 and 1 in the row. 1, 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1. Next line, bar 1, standard stuff. Bar 2, same as we just talked about. 1, 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1. Bar 3, standard stuff. And then bar 4, back to Old Faithful with this drum fill. We get 1, a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. 1, a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. And a 3 E and a 4 E and again you can leave out the bass drum on the and a 4, but it's on the recording if you want to include it. So let's create a 2-bar pattern there. That's good fun to play. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Bit sloppy that, wasn't it? 1, a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. That was better. Okay, so on to the last page, page 3, and what I call bridge 2. And so we're not done with the different types of grooves yet. This is a single-handed 16th note pattern. So the drummer's playing 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Underneath that, we got quite a bit of crazy bass drum, snare drum work. So it's best just to go through each bar individually. The first bar, he plays 1 E and a 2 E and. So bass drum on the of 1 there. Then for beat 3, he plays a 3 E and a 4. A 3 E and a 4. Snare drum on beat 3 there. 3 E and a 4, and then a 1 into the next bar, bar 2. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 again. A 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Then the next bar, bar 2, I've written here, note, hi-hat gradually opens. So roughly from the beginning of bar 2 to the end of bar 3 on the next line, the hi-hat is slowly opening over those 2 bars. So leave out the hi-hat opening for now. Let's just look at what the bass drum and snare drum are doing. We get 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. So snare drum on 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that. Bass drum's playing 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4. A 1. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4. Again. 1, a 2, a 3 and a 4. A 1. Bar 3, bit more sparse, we get 1 E and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So relatively simple that, but notice we've got 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and on the snare drum on all 4 beats. Then for bar 4, the hi-hat closes on beat 1, and he plays a drag going into beat 2, just what we had before when we had that drum fill. It's the same idea, but we go straight into the open hi-hat barking stuff. 2 E and a, 2 E and a, and then 3 E and a 4 E and then the bass drum, I believe, is played on its own at the end of the line, a 1 going into the next line. That drum fill was very hard to hear for whatever reason. It's lower in the mix. A lot of other instruments are playing over the top of it, so that was quite a hard one to work out. But I think that's what he's playing. 1 and so 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. The bass drum plays and a 3 and 4 on the recording. You can leave out those 2 bass drums. So let me just play those 4 bars slowly, then we'll play them up to speed. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4. A 1, a 2, a 3 and a 4, a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2. Messed it up. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Messed up the bass drum bit a little bit there, but let me play for you properly now. Here's those two, the whole of bridge 2, those 4 bars played up to speed correctly. Here we go. So on to chorus 3, and we just got our basic groove, open hi-hats on the and of 3 this time. So look out for that with the 2 bass drum notes. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 4. He repeats this idea now for the outro. Bar 2, just the open hi-hat at the end of bar 2. And then bar 4 is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a little ghost note on the E of 3. 3 and 4 and 1. So not important. Then we get and 4 again for bar 1 there. The end of line 2, bar 2, line 2 has a drag at the ends. Then bar 3, notice 1, 2 and 3. Another example where he doesn't play the bass drum on beat 4. On beat 4, yeah. Bar 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so we get these open hi-hats there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Actually doesn't go into a crash cymbal there. So those last 2 bars, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So 2 open hi-hats there, and 4 and 1. That third line, open hi-hat at the end of bar 2 there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So 4 bass drums in a row with the open hi-hat on the and of 4. Then that last bar of that third line, 1, a 2 and, so push the bass drum on the of beat 1, 2 and a 3, 2 and a 3, those hi-hats are open, 2 and a 3, and then I think he plays, closes the hi-hat and you play and a 4 between 2 toms. It could be, it doesn't matter what 2 toms you use, and a 4 E and a. So he just does a little drag there, and a 4 E and a. Very, very, well, it's, I wouldn't say simple, but it's a simple idea. So 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 E and a 1. 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 E and a 1. 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 E and a 1. Then the last 2 lines where it starts to fade out are written. We get the basic drum groove, but played with 16th notes on the hi-hat. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 4. So basically 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 4 played with the 16th note hi-hat pattern. Second bar, 1 E and a 2 E and then the E of the snare drum on the E of beat 3, 3 E and 4, 3 E and 4 E and open hi-hat on the and of beat 4. If you want to leave a gap between, well, if you don't want to play the hi-hat on the E of beat 3, just leave a gap there for the snare drum, that could work as well. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 4, and but I tend to, breaking it up like that, it's sometimes a little bit what I'm looking for, a little bit awkward going back into the groove if you start breaking up the 16th note. So I recommend you do what I think the drummer does, and he plays the snare drum and the hi-hat together. 1, 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1. Just maintain the constant 16th notes. But if you want to break it up, that's fine. So the last 2 bars before it completely fades out are exactly the same as the line above. 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And that's where you can't hear any more of the song. So before we finish, let me just now play for you the last 3 lines of chorus 3, because we've got the most stuff going on in there. The last 3 lines, here we go. So there you go. Hope you had fun with that. Perhaps a little bit more to this song than perhaps you realised. Certainly certainly more going on than perhaps I realised as well before I started transcribing this. So when you start really listening, that you hear all the kind of nuances that this drummer was doing. And it's quite a surprisingly tricky song to play smoothly from start to finish, especially with those fast little drags and roughs and stuff. So if you've got any questions about any of that, feel free to email me, robertdrumstheword.com, and I'll be happy to help as much as I can. Don't forget to download the free PDF that came with this website. Again, you'll have it a link beneath this video. You can have it printed out in front of you as we went through this lesson. But if you've got to this point in the video and you haven't already, then it's a bit late now, isn't it? While you're at my website, you might want to consider signing up to become an online member. And what I currently offer for $97 is a full year's online access to every single full video song lesson I've ever recorded and transcribed. And that's coming up to 450 famous and popular songs now. Just like this lesson, I teach you the song from start to finish, every single beat, fill, even drum solo if there's one included. And like I say, almost 450 full, famous and popular song lessons up on the website already. As a thank you for signing up, I'll give you access to hundreds more little videos teaching you many, many famous drum beats, fills and even drum solos. I'll give you 3 ebooks I've written over the years containing hundreds more famous beats, fills and solos. And then over the year of your subscription, you also gain instant online access to all the new material that I upload to my members. And I record new lessons every week unless I'm ill or on holiday. So you've got a lot of cool stuff to look forward to over the year of your subscription. Again, any questions, email me, robertdrumstheword.com. And until our next drum lesson together, toodle pip and happy drumming to you.